So when it comes to camera gear, there's definitely a lot of things that are kind of specifically geared towards YouTubers, I guess. Things like gorilla pods and such, but there are definitely a lot of things that kind of cross over that filmmakers and YouTubers both use. Gimbals, microphones, stuff like that. But there's definitely a lot of pieces of gear that are specifically geared towards filmmakers. Things like cages and V-mount batteries and stuff like that that like working filmmakers would need to make their jobs a little bit easier. And another piece of gear that I feel like is kind of usually geared specifically towards filmmakers are monitors. But today I kind of want to talk to you about this Portkeys P6 monitor and how I think that this could be a great tool for both filmmakers and YouTubers. I do want to say that Portkeys was nice enough to send this out to me for a review, but as with all my reviews here on this channel, I'm not being paid and I'm not required to say anything nice about this. This is going to be my honest and unbiased opinion. So this Portkeys P6 is one of their more inexpensive monitors. Now Portkeys makes a lot of really high-end monitors, some of which can actually control cameras like the Z cams and even the Blackmagic cameras. So they're a brand that a lot of professionals trust. And again, this is one of their entry-level, more affordable monitors. Some things that I like about it right off the bat is it has a power switch that once you turn it on, that actually turns on the monitor. And one thing that I really didn't like about a lot of the other monitors that I used is you would have a power switch, but even when it's off, there's still a little LED that's on that kind of drains the battery. Here, it's a switch. There's no other LEDs that are on once you turn it off. As soon as you turn it off, the monitor is off and you're not gonna waste the battery. Which brings me to the battery solution. This monitor is similar to a lot of other monitors where it has two different types of battery options. You can have the Sony MPF batteries or the Canon LPE6 batteries to power it. I have a bunch of these Sony MPF batteries, so that was a big plus for me. So I'm just gonna go really quickly through some of the features that I like most about this monitor, but then I wanna kind of talk to you more about how a YouTuber could utilize this monitor and how useful it could be for when you're creating content. So this Portkeys monitor has a really high resolution screen. I'll put all of the specs of this screen right here, but it also has all the assist features that you're going to want. It has false color, peaking, zebras, and it has a flip feature depending on whether you have the camera pointed towards you. And one of the really cool things that it has is crop guides. So as you may know, if you watch my videos, I shoot all of my videos in 16:9, but then I export them in a 2:1 aspect ratio. The reason that I do that is because when people watch my videos on their cell phones, the 2:1 ratio is just gonna fill the cell phone space a little bit better. And so this monitor actually has 2:1 crop guides so that when I'm framing my video, I can actually see an example of the crop that's gonna happen to my video so I can frame myself a little bit better. That's something that I really did like about this monitor. It has all the bells and whistles that you would want. And this monitor actually supports LUTs. So you can actually install a LUT onto this monitor and you can display it on the monitor if you're using a camera that's shooting in log. So what I decided to do was I borrowed my buddy's Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera and I installed a reference LUT onto this monitor so that I could see what my final image might look like when it's actually graded. Now the LUT that I used as a reference was the Pocket LUT by Spenser Sakurai, and I installed that into the Portkeys P6 and that gave me a really nice reference image to see what my video was gonna look like once I actually graded it. And it worked out perfectly with the Blackmagic Pocket 4K. So if you have that camera and you don't have a monitor yet, I would definitely recommend the Portkeys P6, especially if you're trying to stick to a budget. This one will work great with a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera and you can install LUTs onto it, which is awesome. So as a YouTuber, how would you use something like this? Well, the most obvious use for a monitor like this is to be used with a camera that doesn't have a flip out LCD screen. But I would even argue, even if your camera does have a flip out LCD screen, if you're using manual focus lenses and you want to make sure that you're actually in focus, having this mounted on your camera or your tripod is actually going to be a lot better than trying to look at a pretty small LCD screen, especially if you're far away from your camera. Having a nice big LCD screen with focus peaking and crop guides is going to help you a lot when it comes to framing your shot. So I'm going to show you some simple methods that you can use to mount this onto either your camera or onto your tripod if you're doing a sitting down talking head type YouTube video like this. So when it comes to mounting this Portkeys monitor onto your camera, let's say you have a Blackmagic Pocket or maybe a Sony camera that doesn't have a flip out screen or a flip up screen. That's where a monitor like this is really gonna come in handy. So with this little swivel arm that I have on here and the fact that it will auto flip when you turn it, that will make it a really good talking head, A-roll, or maybe even vlogging monitor. So one way that you can mount it is just straight onto your hot shoe, which is what it's intended for. So you just put it straight onto your hot shoe like that, and then you connect it via HDMI, and then you'll be able to see yourself when you're talking to the camera. It'll auto flip for you, which is pretty cool. Something that a lot of the other lower end monitors don't offer. But what I like to do is actually get it off of the top of my camera and get it as close to myself as I possibly can. And where this really helps is when you have a manual focus lens. So I like to really make sure that I'm in focus whenever I'm filming with this lens. So it's a really good idea to try to get the monitor as close to you so that you can make sure that your focus is nice and sharp. So here's one way that you can do that while also getting the mic closer to you as well with a magic arm. So I really love these little magic arms, and what I'm gonna do is just connect it right here to the neck of the tripod. And then with this type of a setup, you can make sure that you're in focus with the focus peaking. You can make sure that you're exposed and framed properly with those frame guides and the zebras. And you also have your mic nice and close too. So this could be a really simple solution for anyone who's trying to make YouTube videos and you're just doing like a sit down talking head type video and you don't have a flip up or flip out LCD on your camera. You can just use it in this configuration and it'll work out perfectly. So with my GH3, I kind of have a go-to lens setup when it comes to shooting like paid client work, and that is the Metabone Speed Booster and the Sigma 18-35. So I use this little hot shoe extension bracket, and then I mount my microphone on the front end and then my swivel monitor mount with the Portkeys P6 on the back end, and I use this little HDMI ribbon cable to connect the monitor to my GH3. And then that's basically my rig. If I'm shooting a wedding or on more of a professional paid shoot, this is typically the rig that I go with because it gives me a really easy to use and high quality 1080p video rig. All the assist features that I need with the Portkeys P6. I have decent audio coming in with an external shotgun microphone, and I have a really nice lens setup. Now, as far as shooting outdoors, this isn't the brightest screen ever. You're not gonna be able to just use this without a hood out in bright sunlight. It does come with a pretty nice hood that's really easy to install, and in moderate sunlight, you can see this pretty easily and you can still get your exposure right and use focus peaking and stuff like that. So one thing that I did struggle with just a little bit is getting the color, contrast, and exposure set on this monitor, but it's actually really easy to set. It's just as soon as you plug your camera in, it's not going to be a perfect representation of what your camera is seeing as far as color and exposure. So you're going to have to make sure that you mess around with the settings and change the brightness and the contrast and the saturation to look like how the monitor on your camera looks. So you're not going to be thinking that you're getting one image from looking at your monitor, and then when you put it onto your computer, it's going to look totally different, either over or underexposed. So just make sure that you calibrate your monitor properly and you'll be just fine. And although it is kind of a hard sell for people who have cameras like I do, like my Panasonic GH3, it definitely is a different experience when you're using a proper monitor that's really high resolution. Usually the LCD screens, even on the newer cameras, don't have the highest resolution, and you can really tell the difference when you switch from using your camera's LCD screen to a proper monitor like the Portkeys P6. For people who have those type of cameras without a flip out LCD or a flip up LCD, they're gonna want to invest in something like this, where they can actually see what they're doing. Even as you grow as a filmmaker or a YouTuber, this thing can really come in handy, especially when you get into bigger cameras that have less features that YouTubers are, comfortable with, like flip out LCDs. If you're starting out in filmmaking and you want to make sure that you nail your exposure and your focus and maybe even see a better representation of the log footage that you're shooting using LUTs, this is a great monitor to start out with. And if you're a YouTuber who maybe has a camera that doesn't have a great quality flip out LCD, or you just don't have a flip out LCD at all, and you want to make sure that you're getting yourself in focus and getting yourself exposed properly, this again is a great tool to have. So yeah, thank you to Portkeys for sending this out to me. This is the Portkeys P6. I'll have a link to it in the description below if you want to check it out. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, you can click on either side of my face. You can check out some more of my videos. Again, thanks for tuning in, and I will see you all next time. Later.